Hey, there we go. Took a second to get everything going, but here we are. Just doing a little doodling on my prelim here, just while we're waiting on folks to pop in. But I will get started quickly because, I want to get as far as we can get on the drawing while we're working. But this is just a like a skeletal study of where thinking about putting the figures in the picture that I want to do. The vanishing point is going to be like way off there. Hey, Kevin. Better than I was. It was, I took like 3 COVID tests and they all came back negative. So it was not that. It was just an old fashioned cold or whatever. Hope you're doing well tonight as well. It's been tough drawing a little bit lately just because, when I take cold medicine, it's like, it's tough to concentrate for me. I don't know which makes it tougher to concentrate, the sniffles and the runny nose or the cold medicine. I'm sure you can. Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing better. Yeah. Hey, I caught it myself at one point, and it took the full. I was fully vaxxed and everything, but it still took me, 2 weeks to really feel better. I thought an appropriate sketch this evening would be to draw some X-Men, and specifically like some Days of Future Past era X-Men. I was thinking Storm, Colossus, Wolverine, Nightcrawler. But yeah, there's my little doodle. That's what we'll go by, and we'll try to have some fun. And everybody's been talking about AI art and all this stuff, so I refuse to really call it art. Pictures, it generates pictures. Kevin, the one thing that worked for me really well, I have no idea if it is for you, is just like stay super hydrated. And I was drinking like all kinds of Pedialyte type stuff. I'm just going to use blank paper. Sometimes I get tired of really drawing on those sketch covers, and it's nice to really dig in on a nice piece of Bristol here. And what I'm doing here is, there's certain rules to drawing that'll help make it look better, and one of them is to not draw anything important too close to the edge. Another is to be mindful of the rule of thirds. We've talked about that a lot on here, and this is just me gritting it out. And on this drawing, my horizon line is probably about here. So we're going to put the horizon line here. We're going to raise it up a little bit. And our vanishing point is going to be way over here. It's not lost. I just haven't been able to do anything. I'm sorry. I have yours to ship out. I have Desiree's to ship out, and I have Christmas presents I got to ship out. So they will all get shipped this week. Everybody's got to get their stuff in time for Christmas. All right. I'm just doing a lazy grid here. If I was really, going nuts, it's too much work to do like a hard grid. So, but we'll just say, and what I like to do is in order so that, because this paper is going to move, one of my little cheats is to just make lines that line up. I can line this back up, go like this, And so if like my paper moves, I can just slide it and put it right there. And then I have my horizon line, my vanishing point. Why is it getting blurry? There we go. All right, well, I'm gonna move my sketch so I can see it. All right. Always being mindful, you want your characters to stand on a plane. Okay. Just had like a big rock or a piece of debris they're standing on. I want to show some like destroyed buildings. Background. All right. Always use your vanishing points and your horizon line. Well, one of the reasons I haven't really posted about the current discussion regarding AI generated images is because I like to actually be able to talk and just go through like the nuances. Like it's a very complex question, the software itself, and I wanted to be informed. I listened to some interviews with Dave McKean, who wrote a book on the subject already using the AI software to help assemble the book. And one of the things that has those 2 days it was working, just trying to drink water. Oh, Kevin, yeah, take it easy, man. Get lots of sleep. I appreciate you popping in. It's definitely not required viewing to hang out. Now I'm just getting really rough approximations of where my characters are standing. And yes, it does in fact take longer than just typing a paragraph into a prompt and then having it spit out a weird image with 6 fingers and toes. Um, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was how I think the impact will reach the comic book industry. And that really is a complex question because comics themselves, the industry, is such a fragmented and like wide-reaching, diverse amalgam of different types of entertainment, different types of publishing, and different audiences. And I would say that my expertise probably comes in mostly from the print comics division, having worked in stores and having worked for publishers and traveled across the country and talked to retailers all across the country. And one of the things that I run into is, you know, people that are in the industry are in it because they love comic books. I don't really know if I've met anyone who came into the industry explicitly for a business decision. Just a pure numbers thing. Um, And within the print comics division, I've always held a long belief, and part of it comes from my experience with the audience and my friends and the store owners, and part of it comes from what I've seen in my travels. Is that I believe that a very very large, and looking at just raw sales data, of course, a very very large portion of the current buying audience is comprised of either creators themselves of some level, aspiring independent, or working for publishers, or people who directly know someone who does, primary contacts. And it's a relationship that the industry has cultivated, through conventions, through social media. I would even argue that it was one of the advents of the Marvel Age of Comics was making the audience feel like they were part of the bullpen. With Stan's bullpen bits, one of the things that separated them from DC, and it's what I've heard from people who were there, was that it was like hanging out with your friends. It was different than DC. And in so doing that, it has created this relationship between the audience and the creative talent that does not exist with other entertainment mediums, or types. You don't see it in music as much. I mean, there's social media interactions, but there are not, we every weekend a different convention where you can go meet your favorite recording star. And the value in this has obviously been seen by Hollywood and actors and those types, because they all have jumped on what comics started at doing these conventions. And thank you. I believe that there's a different, bec- that because of the difference in the relationship of the audience and the creative talent, I believe that there are more people involved in the making of comics that buy the comics and essentially are shopping at a company store every weekend, buying these comic books, that if they were to go to fully AI generated works, that they would lose a large contingent of their audience. Yeah, I can see I can definitely see where you're coming from, Kevin, for sure. I mean, who knows? It could just be a profile image filter of the week kind of a thing, but there's just too much of a financial benefit that would be exploited for concept art. I mean, concept art is like photo bashing. It has to be done so fast and so cheap already, um, that this will only make it cheaper and faster. And that's a business model that, I mean, ultimately, you're right. The audience is going to decide whether or not they're going to support it. I would just say that I think larger part of the audience than people realize are creatives, especially in the comic book industry. How you doing tonight, Ethan? Doing good. Thanks for popping in over on YouTube. I'm gonna be doing a giveaway over on my YouTube channel when I get up to 100 subscribers. I'm gonna give away either a watercolor or a sketch cover. I haven't decided which. I'll make a nice graphic for like an official announcement kind of thing. Um, yeah, I want to keep growing that platform, and who knows, maybe one day it'll be a good good way to make a couple bucks someday. I have no idea. I keep getting told that it's possible. I have no idea how, but Yeah, I used to do them more, and now since we're entering a lull in convention season, it's going to be tougher for people to get artwork from me because I just don't do home commissions all that often. I got one I got to do for our friend Kevin there in the chat, which that'll be fun. Baseball will be fun. And I got to say, the hot stove is heating up. Hello, Jonathan. Yeah, Kevin. I mean, it's obviously there's the implications as far as like the potential. Um, there's one thing that I do take umbrage with, very much so, and I have a very strong opinion about it. And I don't go too nuts into like my opinions online, but I'll chat with you guys because you guys are my friends. Is that it makes pictures. It does not make artwork. I believe art is a explicitly human like human conscientious achievement. I don't believe that this is creating art. And people are conflating using the word art in place of pictures, and not all pictures are art. Jonathan, I very much appreciated your I'm going to Duff Gardens gift. That made me laugh. It's a great episode. When he eats the giant sandwich and it makes him sick. 3 more feet and I can fit it in the fridge. Ugh, I'm gonna sit down. My back's sore. Although I've gotten this really sweet foam roller for my back. It's pretty great. Not gonna lie. Okay. But yeah, if you ever wanted to talk about what art is, it's something that it's one of my favorite conversations to have, actually. I think it's a really wonderful debate. Um, I even got into an argument with a friend of mine when he was here. I would say it was an argument. I would say it was a well-informed and well-meaning discussion amongst professionals. But yeah, it was my buddy Joe, and we were just debating what art is, how to define it, and he would say that my definition of art comes closer to high art. Whenever I do an X-Men group shot, I always try to put an X somewhere in there. You watched and input all their past episode titles and let AI tell them what the next show would be. It didn't turn out great. Well, yeah, and they've got AI that writes stories and screenplays and stuff, and now like we might as well just have it write a comic script, and then plug that in. I'm sure that'll come out just wonderful. Um, I did see a funny post. Um, Ethan, why do pros draw in blue? In this case, honestly, nowadays it's not really required anymore. But there was once a time back when we used photocopiers where it was important because you could draw in blue and not really even erase. And when you went to photocopy it, it wouldn't show up. It's actually an old animator's technique because they would use it on the layout sheets. Have you ever seen the animators paper, the bond paper that they would do, and then they would trace, or in some cases actually photocopy right onto transparencies to do the actual animatics and stuff. And I just got used to it. You don't really need to do it anymore. There's really no mechanical purpose for it anymore. Oh, no problem. Yeah. I'm happy to answer any sort of making comics or drawing question like that because, I had to learn from other people or books, lots of books. Didn't have YouTube, when I was a youngster learning how to draw and do all this stuff. There's so many great YouTube channels that I'll even watch that are about, different techniques and different artists, and hell, like I even said on Twitter, I'll throw on Bob Ross. He's like, just to have somebody else working in the studio, basically. It's lonely working by yourself all the time, for me at least. Maybe some people don't get lonely, but I do. Oh, first cold. That was blow of the. That wasn't too bad. But yeah, it's a little group shot, and then I'm gonna have coming off in the distance, and I should have something here, like whether it's a piece of debris or something that helps reinforce the where our vanishing point is off to the left here. We can get it right. Um, Even if it was just like a piece of metal, like a metal plate. Always want to just keep reinforcing that vanishing point. Oh, that's cool, Ethan. Yeah, I mean, I think that I've never really had the opportunity to work in a full like studio situation where um, everybody's feeding off of one another. I've worked with other designers in an office situation or when I worked at the print shop, but when it comes to comics, I've never had that or illustration. I've never had that experience of working in the room with other artists. I get it a little bit when it was fun when I was when Joe was crashing at my place for Rhode Island Comic Con. We were both working up, at conventions. The celebrities, the fans, everybody like that's attending is there to just have a good time, which is great. But we as the comic artists, if we have drawings to do, we have to come back and work. And we were working pretty late till like probably about 12:30 or so, 12:31 in the morning. Someday I'm gonna do a live stream from late at night while we're working on stuff. And I'm doing a dry run on this weekend so that we can have some guests on here. I've had some people asking me over the last year or so, like, "Hey, can I come on your stream, or do you want to come on my thing?" I'm going to do a dry run on how to do the connecting with their camera and me running it. I just want to know how to do it for certain before I invite a fellow professional on and don't make a complete fool of myself. Which I try to avoid that. Sometimes it's inevitable, but I try to be professional. Put the gray temples on Colossus for his Days of Future Past. Now our two light sources, we have two. There's going to be one here, and then there's going to be just a tiny bit in the back. So we're actually going to have three light sources, which is ambitious for me. I try to keep it to one or two because I do get confused. So you're going to see me go cross-eyed here. But that's definitely one of my beliefs with the AI art. I think that the comic industry itself will have a hard time converting to it because of how much of the buying community is invested in already invested in the creators or are creators themselves. So it'll also take a lot of work to convert the entire publishing division. So it would take upfront work. So I guess I'm kind of banking on the kindness and invested nature of my fellow man a little bit, but also corporate laziness, which I think that's usually a safe bet. Someone made a funny suggestion. Do I remember the Age of Apocalypse? Yeah, I do. I remember buying it new off the stand, so I don't know if that makes you think I'm like super old now. But I was a little kid when that thing was coming out, and I will tell you, as a person who bought their stuff, from the newsstand, either at Walden Books or the drugstore, they did not do a good job telling us that it was coming. This Age of Apocalypse thing was coming, and if you didn't have a comic book store, which I did not, you couldn't buy that big glossy X-Men Prime one shot or the Alpha Omega books that they were doing that kind of explain the whole thing. So I'm just reading my issues of Uncanny X-Men, and then suddenly it's this other book, and then same thing with Wolverine. That became Weapon X, and actually, like that one was a little easier to follow because I felt like because it was written by the same people and relatively the same creative team, they actually had a better grasp on like this is the future of what you're already reading. Okay, so we're close. We're close to the same age. I think you know not that different. To me, your profile picture is about half the size of a penny on the chat overlay, so I can't really see it so well. What did you say, Kevin? There, you'd love to see Dan Phillip or Jeff Isherwood and I draw side by side. Yeah, I mean, I know Jeff a little bit. Maybe if I do a couple of these and I can, be like, hey, I'm not a complete boob, and I would love to have you on to talk Conan because I'm a huge Conan fan. And if you'd like to draw, that would be great. Joe said he would do it. I bet I could get my buddy Craig Russo to do it. Eli Stone, who worked on the Tick, has been bugging me to do it. I'd really like to also get some writers and everything else. Hey, Desiree, enjoy your haircut. Are you going back to blue? You going blue again, or are you sticking? Okay. What do I think about the AI is learning incredibly fast, and it's because you have thousands and thousands of people pouring data into it, and it is skimming data at like an alarming rate. And there's this idea that it just copies pictures. No, what it does is it turns pictures that are popular into numeric data. And what it does is it doesn't really learn anatomy. It learns, from what I understand. This is what I've read, what I've been told by people much, much smarter than me, is that it basically assigns numeric data to composition, to color, to popularity, um, and that's how it decides on how to make these images. And so, like, really, like wonky anatomy, it's just going to take a little time. Like, it'll figure that out. I have no doubt. Like it couldn't do line art before, a couple of them, and now they're doing beautiful line art with like ink wash and watercolor, and you know that's what makes it, people scared, is that the stuff, for in some cases, looks really good. Um, I just think that that's just a matter of time, because it does not yet value that. But once people program it to be like, hey, you need to have 5 fingers and 5 toes, on human beings, I'm sure that'll get worked out without no sweat. Um, I appreciate it at the moment because it is a hallmark. It's one of the things I've really noticed about it. Um, Also, it's not just it's fingers, it's abdominal muscles, it's back muscles. Um, the hands are just like the stuff of nightmares. Any picture I've seen them try to generate of children, but it's going to get better. It's going to get better alarmingly fast. Um, Found out last night I'm 2 weeks older than Warwick Davis, feeling a little old. I mean, Warwick Davis is awesome. So, like, I love Willow. I don't have Disney Plus, but if I did, I would be stoked to be watching Willow. Maybe I'd be watching Willow right now. No, I'd be watching the Bruins right now, but maybe I would watch Willow after the Bruins. Um, but make no mistake about this AI stuff. Like, publishers are going to try it. They are alarmingly quiet at the moment. I don't know if you've noticed that. Comic conventions, publishers, websites, people who make money off of those IPs and the content generation are being very, very quiet. Why pay 6 artists to do variant covers when you can just write, add an extra word to a prompt and have it spit it out? Um, I really like Strange Academy with Scotty Young and Spider-Man artists on it. Have you checked out that series yet? And who's your favorite writer right now? I have not read Strange Academy. My favorite writer right now. I am reading mostly old comics, I admit, but I really like Jeff Parker. I'll check out anything that he puts out. Basically, of course, I like the classics like Neil Gaiman. The writing surprise currently that I'm really enjoying, and I mean no disrespect to his royal chin, but the Bruce Campbell's Sergeant Rock with Eduardo Riso drawing it is just, it's fantastic. If you're not reading it, I would highly recommend it. And I'm gonna just put this with a huge grain of salt because I just or a huge gold star because, like, I hate war comics. I hate them. I don't like them at all. And this is not a war comic. It's a horror story, um, and it's terrific. I mean, Eduardo Rizzo is a phenomenal artist. If you've, checked out 100 Bullets. But Desiree, as far as your question, like, it's only a matter of time before it figures that stuff out. 2 episodes in, start slow, but I'm digging it. I mean, I always liked Willow. I liked the movie. Liked it as a kid. Saw it again. I don't know, maybe about 3 years ago. Enjoyed it. And the reason I also bring up the Bruce Campbell book is because, like, so many celebrity actors hop on to these comic books and they have 2 writers listed or 3 writers listed. On this one, it's just Bruce. He does not have he is not credited as having a ghostwriter. And, I would actually uh, be curious to ask him that question, or if it's just the editor helping him tighten it up. Because, I mean, obviously he's written and directed his own movies. Kevin, I'll take your word for it. I just I don't like war stories. I don't like war movies. I don't like war. I'm not a fan. I understand it's like a facet of the human existence, and it's not just human. It's also in the animal kingdom, obviously. But it's not for me. I'm not a consumer of that content. I don't like glorifying of that. When I say that, of course, on what is Pearl Harbor? Today's Pearl Harbor Day. Has no reflection on the folks themselves that had to do that stuff. It's simply the comic books and the TV shows and the glorification of it. But I will not mention that to Jeff right away. Hey Jay, how's it going, my man? Well, I mean, if it is just if it's actually just like a biography, I guess that there are exceptions to it. It's just not for my enjoyment. Especially for the if it's a memorializing that's important. No, what I'm not a fan of is like the dehumanizing of different cultures, and I don't like the uh, kids playing with gun type stories. I don't like that. Um, all right, we got Colossus here. My favorite X character. Basically, anytime I get to pick the characters, he's going to show up probably. Hold on, let me line up our vanishing point. So his foot's actually going to be in perspective because it needs to be. There we go. You got to show the feet, like you got to show the whole figure. It is the Bruce Campbell comic is Sergeant Rock. Um, it's like versus the Army of the Dead or something like that, but it's the current Sergeant Rock comic book. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm doing kind of like the Days of Future Past, so he's got like the bit of gray on the side, and we'll try to make him look cool. Got his like remember they all were wearing like those green shirts because they were all captured or apprehended. So gonna have them a little battle damage. So with like the green, a little tattered, they've been fighting. I think Storm had short hair in Days of Future Past. Let me see if I can find a reference picture. There we go. Yep, she had shorter hair. Oh, Colossus didn't have a shirt on. He had just his green pants. I can do that. Yeah, I mean, Days of Future Past was a huge comic, and it was actually when I was a kid. It was hard to get a copy. It was always an expensive book. I remember I saved up a lot of money to buy those original issues. I think they, even in 1990s money, those were like $20 a piece, those books. I have them still, so obviously they've appreciated some in value, but, they've been read. Trying to remember the last time I spoke to Jeff. I think it was at like a Vermont Comic Con. I think we were both guests at. I haven't seen him since pre-COVID, not in person. I've commented on some of his social media bits, but I don't know if that really counts as being like, "Hey, you remember that time I commented on that thing that you posted?" But yeah, I've got a bunch of friends that I think I would love to talk about drawing and have them explain things because I've talked about it many times, but I do love doing that at making comics panel that I do at shows, and I kind of see this as an extension of that at this point. You can see when I'm just having fun, I'm just kind of shaping it as I go. Like I have an idea in my head, but like, nothing here looks finished. But here's my X. I told you I like to put an X in my X-Men pictures. You're right. That's actually a very pretty good analogy, Kevin. They were by far the most expensive comic to collect. And when I was a kid, they didn't really have the trades like they have now. They had X-Men Classic. I don't know if you ever read that or Classic X-Men. It changed titles at some point from X-Men Classic to Classic X-Men. And that's how I read, a bunch of the issues for the first time. The whole John Romita Jr. run, everything that was before, you know, what was currently on the stands. Like I think it made it up to like the early 200s in the classic format. Those reprints were just such a wonderful treat, and they were actually less expensive than other new comics. So it was really good for me when I was a kid, because I had very little money to just spend on stuff like that. On new books, like once my parents found that there was like they were kind of like me, like they found that at a comic book store when we found one close to where we live, there were less expensive comics there. You could buy, new comics were two, three, anywhere from $1.50. I think $1.25 is the earliest I remember for a monthly. Like obviously annuals were more and stuff like that. But you could get 50-cent comics or like value packs of comics. Those were there were cheaper comics to be had, and I was of the mindset where like as a kid, I wasn't looking to invest in comics. These were the first mobile entertainment of my life. We didn't have cell phones. It was before I was reading books. Um, and I could carry this little gallery of drawings around with me. I see our line up to our horizon line. Actually, this arm's going to come down some. We can see quite as much shoulder. Yeah, that's true, Kevin. You could definitely buy 10 other comics, and the reprints were great. I didn't know that they moved pages around sometimes or that they edited stuff. All I knew is that these were the earlier stories, and I felt like I was catching up, to what everybody else already had read and known, and I was doing it in a way that was entertaining and fun, and I could afford to do it. My parents could afford to buy them. Actually, I'm not going to do that. That's bad for the composition. See, we can actually use. I know Nightcrawler got killed, according to the wall, in Days of Future Past, but I'm kind of treating this like maybe this was their last mission together. Yeah, Spider-Man, I was never as into Spider-Man as the other kids, and Jay, who was here earlier, still makes fun of me for it to this day. I don't know what it was. Like I just didn't get into it as much. Like the first Spider-Man stuff I ever read was actually in an X-Men comic book. It was a reprint paperback book style of the arcade storyline in Uncanny X-Men around 123, 124, 122. I think that was the issues. And the first Spider-Man I ever saw was by Byrne in those pages. And then, when I tried to check out Spider-Man when I was a kid, it was the 90s, and it was I liked some of the spin-offs, like the Wolverine stuff that Joe St. Pierre did. I liked the Steve Lytle Spider-Man, but like, I didn't like what was going on in Amazing Spider-Man. It didn't grab me when I was a kid. And I know some people absolutely just adore those comic books. And, I've gone back and reread older. If I had gotten my hands on some of the older Spider Man first, I think I could have been, a bigger fan of the stuff. But I just don't share the nostalgia that a lot of people have for it. Funny too. Hey, I think if I had found, I think there were good like one-off stories, but I just wasn't into the main line. You know, um, the first back issues of Spider-Man I read, I would say they were probably like the Ron Friends era, whether it was either Hobgoblin or the alien costume stuff. And I like those. I like those a lot. When I read the Ditko stuff, the reprints, when I got the first Spider-Man Essentials that came out, where I could read them all in a row, like I definitely understood the fervor towards that character much more. Hang on, hold on, line this up. Oh, the Jim Lee X-Men? I mean, that was a huge event when we were kids. Huge. Like I don't think it can be overstated how many people that was their jumping on point for a new X-Men book. And, it sold like gangbusters. Going back and rereading those as an adult, I actually like the stuff that followed in the Andy Kubert artwork. Just spoke to me more as an adult than the Jim Lee stuff, but it's just monumentally important work. Like it's just can't be understated or overstated. Excuse me. Words. Have to use words. Okay, so in order to establish our perspective, we do have to have some lines coming down this way and this way, and we need to cap off our road this way. Oh, thanks, Kevin. Yep, I'm doing that giveaway. It's going to be just a random raffle, so it's not like the 100th person gets it. So I'll just run a random number generator, and it'll spit out who wins. I'll do a fancy official post, and I'll pick out a good one. I won't pick out like a bad one of my one of my cheaper ones. It'll be a nice piece. If we made this part of a broken street, I think that would be a good way to establish perspective. We could have rubble, all kinds of pieces of stone. Nothing would look necessarily out of place. The lines could be a spotlight, maybe. A spotlight. That's a good idea. Um, I wonder what that would do to our light source, though. I haven't established the shadows yet, so we do have time to play here a little bit, but I think you're right. I think that's a good idea, Ethan. I think that's a good idea. I think I'm gonna keep the road, but I do think a light coming down from above as though they're being pursued is a great idea. So we can establish a spotlight coming down on them with a big oval, and then we can have our shadows work off of that. That's a good idea, Ethan. Thank you. It's our first collaboration. And I think that if we're going to have that light, it's got to be coming from above. So I think that our line for it will be, let's see, if the end of the oval is over here, like this. We don't need that anymore. And like this. So the light is coming this way. I don't have a ruler on me, do I? Nope. No ruler, so we're just gonna have to eyeball it. Not the best way to do it, but we got time. So we have a light coming down like that. I assume you saw Judge got paid. Good for him. He went to Fresno State. Hard seeing him in pinstripes, but he's hard to hate. Sure wish we should have taken the Giants money. I did see that Aaron Judge was going back to the Yankees, and that was a Steinbrenner move if I've seen one. I hadn't seen one in a little while, but, here we are. Now, if the Red Sox could, stop screwing around and sign their own players who they drafted and have done really well for them, that would be great. I like when teams reward players who are, by all accounts, decent people, good for the team, play well. You get drafted by a team. It's not, it's not forever, but there is meaning to that. I did not get drafted to play baseball, but I played with fellas that did. We can start to see where it's coming together. And then we can blacken this part in. That's where that part of that leg is, and that leg is, and that's where that glute is, and then that's where that leg will be. And then knee up here, foot. Actually, that one foot's going to be missing. You're not going to see that foot, so. They signed 2 pitchers, an average of 30 innings pitched to fairly large contracts. Not my favorite offseason so far. I don't blame you. Look, I understand relief pitchers are important. Somebody's got to throw the ball because they don't have starters going 200 innings hardly ever anymore. So I'm going to have to watch Kenley Jansen take 9 hours to throw a single pitch in the 9th inning. I'm not looking forward to that. It's not the guy I would have spent my money on if I was the Red Sox. I'm sorry. Good pitcher. Just getting up there in age, and with the pitch, he's changing leagues, and they're giving the league a pitch clock. So I'll be interested to see how that shakes out. All right, we can go in here and start adding some. I'm not going to get too detailed with the pencils because obviously this is just a sketch and I'm just going to ink it myself, and this is just for fun. Let me see where my horizon line and everything is. Horizon line is here. This is just above the horizon. This is going to be Days of Future Past Storm with the shorter white hair. And then she'll have her electrical powers, doing her thing. Yeah, Jansen to the Red Sox. Yeah, that was today, I think. Hey, good luck with the painting, Jay. Thanks for popping in. I'll catch you later, man. I've got a Christmas present I got to get to you, so either let me know if you want me to mail it or if you want to meet up. And yes, I am looking up what the hell kind of pants Wolverine was wearing during Days of Future Past. I know it's the kind of minutia that I'm sure no one cares about, but he's wearing boots and blue pants. That's the 70s for you, I guess. Yeah, look at that. He's got boots on. Yeah, I would not care what kind of pants Wolverine was wearing in Days of Future Past. That's true. I don't think so. I also think I've had pretty much everyone with 5 fingers and 5 toes so far. I've yet to have the six-toed sloth look of the AI um, images. Were Storm and Wolverine a couple in that comic? They were close, but it wasn't like Age of Apocalypse where they were like explicitly, you know, in the cartoon show when they did Age of Apocalypse, they were explicitly together. I mean, Wolverine and Storm have had like this, like, I don't know. During the Claremont run, they had like a mutual admiration for one another, but future writers decided to turn that into like a love interest. I think it was Jason Aaron that did it in Wolverine and the X-Men. Made them a couple. Maybe it was Bendis. I don't remember. It was around that era. But I do recommend it. It holds up pretty well. It's not perfect. There's some campy stuff in there that's like very much of its time. That I think there gets clouded by some nostalgia. But like, try to imagine reading it when it came out, in 1978, 79, or did it come out in 80? It might have come out in 79, 80, somewhere in there. Nightcrawler does have 3 fingers. I do wonder if, the AI would give him, 4 fingers, since it gives an extra one to people. Someone did make a suggestion online that did make me chuckle, was, like, the way to get people to, you know, care whether or not AI works or not is to have it start spitting out Disney characters and then have Disney go after them. Thought that was pretty funny. Hey, it's gonna take the people who have money making those decisions. Like, that's what it'll take. I think it's unfair to ask, like, the artists that these companies are ripping off to be the ones to hold the line. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Just don't have the resources. And I don't even know if any of the, like, the bigger, artists of our industry have the resources. Like, I don't, because the first image I ever saw in AI was, in Colorado, and it was shown to me by Howard Chaykin. He had it on his phone, when I was in Colorado Springs in August, and, it was sent to him by another artist, um, who said that all he typed into the, prompt was Mike Mignola graveyard. And I'll be damned if it didn't look like something that would show up. It did not look like it came from Mike's hand, like, because Mike has a very distinct line and way he applies ink physically to paper. But it was definitely something I could see showing up in, like, a BPRD comic. Like, it fit. If you didn't know anything about art, or if you didn't have, like, a discerning eye for artists and their distinctive styles, I think ordinary, uh, not to be insulting, but non-artists, like lay people in the field, would not know that it was not done by Mike Mignola. And that's the implication, is that people who are not educated in the specifics of the art that look at this will not know the difference and will not care. Because what it does is it gives you an end results, like, immediately. Hey, I would hope that if somebody was training AI to make knockoff Disney movies, I think that that's the kind of thing that would cause change, because, I mean, Disney's already changed the laws of the land multiple times in copyright so that they don't lose the copyrights to Mickey Mouse, and that's coming up again soon. And I'll be interested to see if they're able to get the law changed again. It's their lobbyists that got those laws changed. It's got to be someone with basically unlimited resources that goes after these people, or goes after it in such a manner that the government is forced to regulate. I'm thankful that, that you nice folks came to watch me make not AI artwork and support me so much. And, you know, I have faith in some folks, and the kind, you folks definitely give me some hope in the kindness of folks, and that you care about some artists. And I know it's not just me you folks support, and that's awesome. I am that crazy person who would, even if the robots took over all of our jobs, I would still make my stupid comic books, on my own time, and put them on my stupid website and show my drawings to people. But yeah, I think once AI starts making like knockoff Disney movies, then I think that they would get involved. I will share a bit of art history this evening. Um, is anyone familiar with the terms when it comes to like an artist being paid for their work? Like if even if an artist does it very quickly, that you're not paying for the time they spent on the piece, you're paying for the time they learned how to make the piece. If you don't know where that comes from, is anyone familiar with the painter named Whistler? Like there's a Whistler's Mother is a very famous painting. Um, it was when that artist, I believe it was Whistler, the artist sued a critic over his work. Let me just make sure I'm sharing the right thing. I believe it was Whistler. Yep, it was. Yeah. James Abbott McNeill Whistler sued John Ruskin for a harsh review of his work. And his defense when they tried to get his money back for this commission was to say, you're not paying me for the time it took me to paint it, you're paying me for the time it took me to learn how to paint it. And that's where that uh, idiom comes from an artist suing his critic in court, and he won. That's the other crazy thing. But that's my little art history for the evening. I don't even know if they make people take exactly, Kevin. Exactly. That's and that comes from an artist suing his critic. The This is our horizon line. I actually just had to take my car back to the garage this morning. It was making that noise again, which they claim to have fixed. I did not get it back today, so fingers crossed for tomorrow. I might have to transfer this to a clean board to finish it, but we are getting all that information down, all the different little lines, all the different stuff. Just looking at reference. Try to get the suits and everything right. Wolverine Sprite. Yeah, you see they had like these green jumpsuits with an M on them. Very subtle. Light's coming from here. Well, just how much payoff is the question? Yeah, who knows? I can hope that there will always be an appreciation for it because, I mean, even now, like, there's still handmade furniture, there's still handmade stuff. It's a smaller, more expensive market, but it still exists because there's an appreciation for quality craftsmanship made by people. And it's not just another tool like that an artist uses. So, like, there are differences between it and like a Photoshop situation. Selling my art at farmers markets, I've realized that people buy me, they don't buy my art because they can just go and print out a picture of Wolverine or copy print or something off the internet. I don't know. I mean, I'll take your word for it because obviously you're there and I'm not. But I definitely know that I collect original artwork. Um, I've got a page right here of Howard Chaykin artwork I was looking at earlier, and this is original hand drawn stuff. And I can look in and I can see he uses tape for correction, and he uses a Zipatone screen here for this wood. There's some blue here, blue pencil. You can see all kinds of paste ups, and this is where he put a speech balloon on top of some stuff. You can see all the different texture, all the different ways he applied ink and white media to the piece. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way, Kevin. I mean, I can't afford a whole lot right, at the moment, but there's art deals to be had out there too. I've bought original artwork for, this year. I've bought original published pages of superheroes for $30. You're not going to get if you're looking for a Jim Lee X-Men page, that stuff's expensive if you're looking for that. But, there's beautiful, well-crafted artwork that can be had for reasonable prices, even from, I bought them from dealers. It's not like I was buying directly from artists all the time. I try to, but sometimes I'll see a deal and it's too good to pass up. Listing cards and eventually some comics to help fund the next year's WonderCon trip. Nice. Yeah, a lot of people use their, hobby to fund their hobby. They'll have multiple copies of books they'll sell. They'll just, flip books. They'll do all kinds of stuff. Hands brothers who worked in a mines, and one went um, off to school, and the other went and paid for him to go to school. When it was his turn, the brother's turn to go, his hands were too broken, and the other artist brother drew his brother's broken hands and paid for his art school, and it became known as the praying hand. Yeah, it's a good story. Hey, Douglas. Yeah, I mean, we were talking, all kinds of AI art. We were talking all kinds of cool. The lead in the blue container. I use a Japanese brand called Uni. I order it from Jet Pens, and it's a erasable, softer blue than the awful Bic or Pentel blue lead that they sell. Um, this was just a piece that I just started for fun for the stream. It's like a Days of Future Past X-Men because we were talking AI art or AI pictures. Um, I don't label it as art, but pictures. I thought a Days of Future Past X-Men scene would be a good one to do while we were just chatting and talking and doing stuff. Older Logan, older Colossus. I decided to throw Nightcrawler in there. You know, got him on like a street scene, and I just got to add tons and tons of rubble. You can just see how loose it is because I'm really just getting the ideas down, and hopefully I can either ink it on here, or I can lightbox it onto a clean board. Thanks, man. How did your panel and that show end up for you, man? I'm sorry I couldn't be there. It's the weekend after my birthday, and the I just had Rhode Island. I was just beat. Well, you'd be the person to ask. You definitely know more than most artist folks, I would say. It's a subject you'd be well versed to answer questions of young artists looking to make it big. Ugh. Wasn't there a sign on the thing like leaving the safe zone or something on that famous cover? Maybe we could pop that in here. Was it 141 or? Well, there was a wanted poster, but I also think that there was like a leaving the safe zone sign somewhere. I think that whether it was when Kitty was walking around and talking to Magneto when he was in the wheelchair, it would just be like an easy way. I was just trying to think of an easy way to like make sure that we have our, let's see, line it up here. We've got our line here. This is one of my cheats. I'll just have a line and a line so that I can line up my vanishing point and my horizon line when I move the picture. So if we have, a beat up sign on the ground. Yeah, you're not the first person to pop on tonight and say that. It was an expensive comic to read when I was a kid. I think they were $20 a piece for each issue for the originals. I eventually got a trade. They did a trade that was just those two issues in like a dollar bin, and it had the original coloring in it. Which, if I were to buy it today, that's probably what I would get. That's the trade where they just have those two issues. For some reason, they had Jackson Geist do a cover for it. I don't know why, but um, see, I'm still really loose where I haven't made too many decisions on things. This is where, as we start to head towards inking, where we have to start making those decisions. Like the right line is in that cluster of lines somewhere, but I'm still not quite sure. So I'm kind of getting away with it a little bit at the moment. Oh, nice. The Bernie Wrightson stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. He did a bunch of those like little mini series around then. He did a Batman one. He did the Weird DC for DC, the Weird. I remember that one. Do you have a chance to read it yet? I think Starlin wrote that one. You bought archival, the Douglas Pascovich issues. They're gonna have to, make a new CGC label for that for the Doug P collection. Be one of those pedigree copies right there. The pedigree copies, yes. Let's see what we got lying around here. 9:45 already, jeez. I think you would have liked last week's stream, Douglas. It was fully about process from a layout standpoint and storytelling. We got really into the weeds, into the minutia, and like my mindset going into stuff. So if you get bored, what did I do with my other brush pen? Had it fallen out of my bag. It does happen. I wonder where it got to. That's going to be a problem. One of my most used tools. Usually it's right here in this bag. Oh well. One of those days, I guess. There we go, I found it. I have all my tools in multiple Ziploc bags there, Douglas. Look at that. See, it's in the other one. Hey, no worries, man. AI would not be fighting off a cold like I am. But yeah, I've been showing people like the process of how I write and with, actually drawing the panels and how I write at the same time as I thumbnail. This is how and I'll actually do paste ups on the thumbnails when I want to improve them. Proper rummage sale tackle box. Yeah, yeah, that's probably what I should have, but it takes up less space in my bag. It does. It's just how I roll, man. I did have to buy a new 11 by 17 portfolio bag, and that has been a nightmare because the one I've been buying for the last, like, I don't know, let's say 7 to 10 years, like every couple of years I gotta replace it. They don't make them anymore, so finding a new bag that fits 11 by 17 portfolios to carry on an airplane over my shoulder has been a chore. Hey, look, pasting over panels and thumbnails, like, I think it works out. There was actually one that I had multiple on. Let me see here. Multiple paste ups, yeah. Here's one where I redid this panel. This actually came out to be a much better panel with the framing. And then this one, because I had too similar of shots, like it didn't work. The camera wasn't moving enough, not enough action. If you ever want to see what I got, I'll send you a link to the one I got. It's actually a European bag for A4 or A5, and there's just enough room for, I don't remember, it's one of their wacky sizes, and it's just big enough. Hey, no worries. And the only reason I do it is just because, like, I don't know, like, if I don't get the idea down in the best way I can at the moment, I'll just forget what I was going for and lose the momentum. Because I do think that and you can tell me I'm crazy if I am, but when you're writing and thumbnailing a story, you get into the feeling of the story, you get into it, and like you get into a little bit of a groove, and you have a feeling for what works. I mean, obviously, you have to edit and look at it later, but when you're first getting it down, there's a certain like ability to pull it together that I feel like I lose when um, I don't finish it. Then I mean, this needs a lot of refinement. This needs a lot of cleanup, and there's a lot of work to be done on it. And we're obviously not going to get it done tonight, but you got to see the pencils. Basically, the layout slash chunk of the pencils, the structural stuff done today. I mean, this was a blank piece of paper earlier. Obviously, it's not finished. Um, that's a better way to put it. You lose steam. That's a better way to put it, I think. Um, but yeah, this was like this 2 hours ago, and now it's like this. Um, and this was all done with doodling for years techniques and stuff. And obviously, like Doug, Douglas, you weren't around when we were talking earlier more about like the application of AI art to the comic book industry and like how the comic industry, and maybe you'd be interested to hear this, so I'll repeat it, is that I've long held the belief that if not a majority, a irreplaceably large part of the current print comic consumer reader is either an aspiring or a professional artist or directly knows an artist. And that means that they are vested on the creative end. Whether it's an independent kid sketching and drawing, I just think that I've traveled from one end of this country to the other. I've been abroad. There are just so many people that draw, that do comics or want to do comics, and they all shop at what I look at as like the company store. We all dump money back into the industry, like so much money buying artist editions if we buy those or whatever, like at the store, that like if you were to alienate that part, they would have to reformat and like do so much to accommodate um, the change, like, and the loss of money. And then I also look at it as requiring an amount of work that would need to be done on the front end to replace that labor force. And doing a bunch of work that you're not making money on now is not something that corporations are necessarily usually good at. So I rely on that corporate laziness um, as much as anything else um, to provide at least a buffer. It's a fickle business. Like comics are publishing, but they're also collectibles. They're also, like the idea, people have been screaming that print comics will be dead since the 70s. So it'll be interesting to see where the applications take themselves. I mean, I don't have the answers, but I have looked at a lot of what's going on out there, and I'll be interested to see where it goes. And obviously, it affects a lot of folks, and it's just an interesting topic, and I'll continue to educate myself. And if anybody has any good resources, feel free to send me stuff. I definitely check it out. And thank you all for coming tonight. And I will see you next Wednesday. And it'll be at the usual time, 8 p.m. I hope you all have a lovely evening. Thank you all for spending the time with me. I will take my leave, and I will catch you later. Bye.